Well, welcome back to another one, I guess. This one, I'm back working on my 1995 Chevrolet Impala SS. As you can see, it's in the garage, and the hood's open and the trunk's open. What are you doing? Well, probably something that my inner childhood used to do quite often that I'm really not big on right now, but I kind of want. So I did it. I'm doing it. Yeah, car audio. So I'm installing an amp and a subwoofer, if you will, into the Impala. Now, typically, my 6x9s, front speakers, all that, I'm usually good with a stock radio. I don't care. I used to be really big into the stereo system scene. I used to have a lot of SoundStream, a lot of speakers. You know, what does RCAs say? Sounds like two midgets in the trunks with a bunch of cans rattling, something like that. I don't know, but that's what I was doing. I kind of got out of it because, well, if you're in the car audio scene, you kind of know the demographic of what it draws. It's kind of one of those everyone does it mods. But anyways, why am I doing it now? Well, because I am. And as you can see, just loud audio, no, JL audio. I got a hell of a deal on this 10 with this amp power wire. I got a really good deal on it, so I couldn't pass it up. So it's been sitting in the garage now for a couple weeks, and it's just been sitting there, and I'm like, what am I going to put it in? I guess I'm going to put it in the Impala. I also have obtained a little bit more car audio stuff here in the last couple of years. I got a really nice amp, Alpine amp, I found at Goodwill. I got some head units, I got some other stuff. Got a bunch of wires and whatnot, some audio visual cables, but I figured that I'm just going to go for broke and actually install this. So, originally wasn't going to make a video out of it, but I'm making a video out of it. Reason being is because I'm kind of burned out of doing YouTube videos. Because, well, your boy here can't figure out the algorithm and make it just like explode where it matters enough to even do YouTube videos. But I'll shoot myself in the foot if I don't record what I'm doing. So, catch 22. So, let me show you where we're at. So, if you don't know, to start, for amplifiers, you need to have a big power wire. Power wire starts from the battery. You run it all the way the length of your car to the amp, and then you got a ground side on the trunk, which we'll get into here in a minute. But I've gone through and I've ran this power wire that came with that whole setup through. I'm gonna make it look a little bit prettier because that is one of the gaudiest things I absolutely hate is opening up a hood and seeing your red power wire underneath the engine bay, because you already know it's, yeah. So I'm gonna hide it, make sure it's really tucked in really well. And yeah, I went through and put some nice connector terminal ends on the end here and heat shrunk it, which normally I wouldn't have done, and just cleaned it up. So you're gonna have a fuse, which is very important. Make sure you put your fuses in here and have it close to the battery. That way, if that wire shorts out, you don't start your car on fire. I can't stress that enough. Same thing if you got like the caps, capacitors, any of that kind of shit, just put fuses in it. If you blow the fuses, you obviously got a problem. My 96 Impala that I had an actual real cool setup. I ran I think I had an O gauge wire, which is that really big fat ones like that. And it ran through a little like meter thing, and the meter told like how much power was actually going through this, and it actually gave me a volt readout, which was pretty good for 25 years ago. But anyways, ain't doing any of that shit. I'm just, it's getting to get me some two midgets in the trunk wrestling, Outcast style. Anyways, so your power wire is going to run from your battery all the way to the trunk or wherever your amp is mounted. Do not, for the love of God, hook it up to a 12-volt source on your car. Run a direct 12-volt source from your battery all the way to your amp. Those things draw a lot of power, and you need it to be direct power to your battery. Now, as you can see, my power wire comes in. I just drilled a hole in the back of the trunk, which, you know, cardinal sin for me drilling a hole in an Impala, but I did. I put it right there, put some butyl around it to keep it weather stripped in. And then we ran a ground, and the ground is right there to our power wire, or amp. So now I'm going to go into the amplifier amp a little closer and give you some ideas on, if you've never played around with one, they're stupid easy. They're easy. Let me show you. All right, most amps are going to be like this. They may have cooling fins on them, they may whatever, but that's a generic amp. This is actually a pretty small one, which is plenty power what we're going to have for our setup, so simplicity. You got the red power wire, which is your 12-volt source. It goes into that lug right there where it says 12 plus on it. The next one it says ground, which my black one is ground, and it goes over to a ground strap location. Next one, you see, focus. It says, come on, focus. There it is, remote. What's a remote? Well, it's a relay. It turns the amp on and off. So you turn your radio on, and if you have a power antenna that goes me, turn the radio off, power antenna goes me, that's a remote wire. So it's basically the radio flipping a relay to turn the amp on and off, so it's not continuously on. So it's your remote wire. You need that. There's a couple different ways you can trigger it. You can trigger it from the radio kicking on and off, which typical is how I'm going to probably do mine, because I think I have to think about it, because my power antenna only goes up when the radio comes on, because it's silly like that. But anyways, yeah, you can flip it on and off with the radio, or put a hardwire switch in and flip it on and off manually, or with your ignition whenever your car is on. However, it doesn't matter. It's just a relay. Turn it on and off. So let's get into the other parts and components of this amplifier. Coming down here, you got some speaker outputs. Now we got positive on one side, negative on the other side, and you can see that there are 4 lugs, but our speaker is what we called bridged, I think. You got positive from one side of the amp and negative from the other side going up to the speaker itself. Now if we wanted to run like 2 speakers in here, we could off this amp, smaller ones, one on each side, and we'd be good to go. These guys that know car stereos better, I think it's bridged when you do that. Series is the other way. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways you can run speakers to make them work. Okay? That's how it's set up. I'm probably going to leave it like that unless something happens. Anyways, moving on to the next part. Other side of the amplifier here, you're going to have some other more interesting things, I guess. You got some RCA cable spots that go in. These are for your channels, and then you got some other little switches and stuff, and then gain. Think of this as like a equalizer, EQ kind of thing. I don't know what the hell that is. Never seen one before. And then bass boost, we got it set to 0, and then you can probably play around and adjust that whole thing. But really, on all of this, you need to start with the RCA cables. Now, the RCA cables I have are these ones laying around, and this middle one is actually what I'm going to use for a remote wire, which is kind of nice. It's all integrated into one. But it's really simple. Red with red, and then the black with black. And I got 2 lines in. I'll have to look at these a little closer to see what channel I want to use for whatever. Then your RCA cables need to run all the way up to the front of your car to your head unit along with that remote wire. So this is kind of where it's like hooking up your TV to an old DVD player or a VCR. you know, any of that kind of stuff. It's really just output from the radio, input to the amp. The RCA cables. It's just the audio side. It's the same exact thing as your home audio stereo setup that you got there if you've messed with that. Now most radios, what is going on? Is that an airplane? Low flying airplane. Helicopter. A lot of air traffic around here. Anyways, most radios are what they call head units. They have the RCA outputs. Some of them have inputs. Some of them have multiples. I'm trying to continually walk to where my spare head units are, but struggles. All right, so got a couple head units here. These are older ones. This is an old Pioneer setup, and look, we got RCA outputs on it. We got this old Sony one, which it's got RCA outputs on it as well. These are old. These are ancient. I'm pretty sure I had this setup when I was younger, if I remember right. I think it was really good. I was mostly into Kenwoods. I think this is the Pioneer one that does the dolphin thing on the front. I don't remember. It works. Then I got this one right here as well. It's another Pioneer one, and Extreme Sound. Yeah, it doesn't have RCAs on the back, but it has what they call an RCA converter, which is, well, it does have RCAs. It's just a different little cable. Anyways, regardless, you can tell it's, you know, 2001 is when this thing came out. They all have them, usually. So you heard me mention that RCA converter. I have a job briefing with myself. Well, an RCA converter does just that. Let me go find one and show you. This right here, this little box is what they call, again, the RCA converter. What does it do? You literally wire it up to a speaker, like a 6x9 one in your car, and then it converts to RCA. It's really simple, I guess. That's the wiring instructions for this one right here on how you want to. It looks like you gotta have a 12 volt consist with it as well. But as I mentioned, most car audios are gonna have them. But what if you just wanna use a factory double din in your GM vehicle because you got a Bose stereo in your truck and it sounds really good, but you just wanna make it sound better? Use that RCA converter and you can convert speaker to RCA and put it to your amp. Problem with it is it's just a little bit off. Oh, dirt there. It's just a little bit off. So you got to think about it. There's like a, whatever the speed is going to be for your speaker through your wire to convert it to the RCA to go to the amp to actually output it through the system and then go to the sub. So you might have a little bit of a delay to your subwoofer. The bass may be just a little off using an RCA converter, which is, if you really care, cool. If not, then use them. But it eliminates you having to take one of these long wires, rip apart the interior, run it all the way up to the front end and plug it into your head unit, which that's what I'm going to end up doing today. Now, those RCA converters are available just about anywhere nowadays. It used to be Radio Shack was the only place you can get them, but I was just at O'Reilly's yesterday, and they even have them on the shelf at O'Reilly's for about 30 bucks. So if you want to use that, do it. But you need to have RCAs that go to your amplifier. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out a way that I want to mount this speaker box in here, and you need to make sure and mount it to your floor. Because young Chris didn't mount his speaker box to the floor and it shifted as it was going down the road and ended up sliding and bam, put a dent in my quarter panel because the speaker box slid. But that's why we put these panels in here a couple years ago, because our kick panels actually save on your sliding. But it's best just to secure the stuff down. So let me devise a plan to do that. Okay, go. So I think I'm gonna have it like that, I think. Some things that can be taken into consideration are, of course, the trunk when it closes. You wanna make sure you got your clearances going on there. So I think that's where I'm gonna put it for right now. But I got my spare tire. I wanna make sure that stays in the spare tire home. We're taking up a lot of real estate when we start doing that. We gotta put the jack underneath there. And I want convenience if I get a flat tire to be able to take it in and out, in and out, in and out without having too much issues. I may change some stuff around. I may put the box up in here. See, but we have the little spring things going on up there. And I don't know. I don't know. Need to think on it here a little bit more, but while I'm thinking on it, I'm actually gonna move the car out so I have a little bit more working space, because I need to be on the passenger side in Paul's truck's here, which, yes, I'm working on that slowly, but it's getting there. And I want to get this out. So I'm going to start by hooking the battery back up. And I'm not going to use the stock lug for the battery. Let me show you what I'm going to do. So the stock lug looks like that comes out of your battery. You can pop it out. I'm going to use this. I got a bolt that'll actually thread in there. It's a little bit longer, and I got 2 nuts. One of those nuts you can see has got the tapered threaded end, and the other one is just, just hanging out. And of course we got our end. Well, what the hell is the point of doing that? Well, let me show you. So when we go to put it back on our cable, our factory cable here, this is going to act just like the GM style lug, and then what we can do is our power wire is going to go between there, and then we can actually tighten this down, this middle one right here, onto our power cable lug, and then we can snug the whole thing down into the battery. It's pretty simple, I guess, but that's what I'm doing. I may need to find a longer bolt, but it's going to be something like that, and it should work. I mean, it's about as much thread as the stock setup. You can see it's sandwiched in there. Comes out. I'm going to have to make sure that's set the way I want it to before I fully snug it down. But either way, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this in and see if I can get it working. Ended up needing to get a longer bolt, so try that one. All right, longer bolt is there. It works. Got it threaded in, actually to the bottom of the terminal now. I feel comfortable about that. I'm gonna go ahead and snuggle down this 1/2 inch here, and then we'll tighten this one up. We'll compress it against our terminal here. I was able to get a couple washers in there too. It makes me feel a little bit better. And then we're gonna go ahead and get the car moved out. So you can see that, again, we're tightening the whole battery terminal, and then we can individually tighten this one down and get a little bit more tightness on it. Squeeze, that's going to be a good connection. I'm going to try to find something to cover that bolt, but it's not like it's going to short out on anything. But either way, we're hooked up for right now. One thing I noticed before I pulled the car out, or while I was under it yesterday, running my power wire, the pinion seal's leaking. Great. I gotta take this thing on a road trip tomorrow, and I don't feel like doing a pinion seal on it. So I'm just gonna check the fluid on it, make sure it's full, keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get any worse, and pray that it holds together. Let's check it out. All right, you can see kind of got some wetness going on here. Right around the pumpkin, it's leaking. A little bit down there. And we got some wetness right there. Not too bad. Let's doesn't look like it's too terrible. You don't know, a ratchet of the 3/8 variety. Let me get some light on that. as I was saying, a ratchet to the 3/8 variety. That'll get you up here to pop this cover off to check it. It's also the fill spot on an extension. So let me pull this off. It helps to hit record sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of getting tired of YouTubing. All right. Whoa. I think we got fluid in there. Huh. That's a good sign. I'm going to ignore that I looked at this because it's spewing out and I made a mess. And look at it on the floor. Still clean, smells like gear oil. Great, grand, awesome. Not going to worry about it right now. All right, now what? Clean up, brake clean, probably. So as you can see, my battery terminal thing isn't working. Shit. I just had to re-engineer my re-engineering. So what I did is I took my audio cables and I fished them through right there, kind of inconspicuous. Went through, pulled my panels off, front and back, and we just pulled them through. We ran them through. Now you can run your power wire the same way if you want to, or like I did, I just ran it on my frame rail up underneath and drilled a hole through my trunk because I didn't want to drill a hole in the firewall. Yeah, so that's where it goes. But anyways, just fish it through. It's simple as that. So now this is all reinstalled. Yeah, and we got our cables hanging out here. Now we got to pull this apart, which is going to involve some stuff on the steering wheel. We got to put it in neutral. We got to pop that cover off. We got to drop this lower plate, pull this whole thing apart. I think we got clips in here we got to pop off. This has got to come out. All sorts of fun stuff. Yippee. I might have just got a cheat code. Let me show you. Pulled that off instead of ripping the whole thing apart, and we get access. Now, is it the right kind of access? I don't know. Let's find out. Have fun. All right, what do you see? What do you see? Bunch of wires, bunch of stuff going on. You know, some other stuff. Can you see anything? I think we need to focus more on this side, if I remember right. Because I think that cable that I got is what we got to plug into. So let me go grab it. So that's the cable. I think it's just got to get plugged in, and we'll just got to hook up our outputs properly. But luckily for me, I still got my radio box right there. I'm going to look up the model and see what it looks like on the back. Yep. Well, that helps that they're labeled. This blue one's going to be my remote wire. This one that's right there in front of you, you can see that it says subwoofer output. Other one's front output, Probably should have just installed this when I put the radio in 3 years ago, but I didn't. 5 years ago, damn. Yeah. Well, things escalated quickly because my cheat code didn't work, so the entire dash is, pulled apart. Just to get this one wire clipped in here, this hooked up here. Now we just got to hook our remote wire up to right there, test it, make sure it works. All right, we got it plugged in, got the remote wire hooked up, got our audio video cables, or audio cables I should say there, video cables, backup camera, all this other junk here. We're gonna go ahead and just push this back in, and yeah, suppose we gotta test it before. Ding, 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 ding. Come on. 2007. Caution. Let's see. Menu. Radio. Here's something. Huh. Well. Let's see what we got. Looks like our amp's got a little power light that's on. It's good. And nothing feeling out of it. We should turn it up a little bit. Oh yeah. Working. So that's good. Jeez. So now I'm gonna put this dash back together. Clean this thing out. A few minutes later, we're all put back together. Dash is in. I'm just gonna set this here for right now. I'll throw the spare tire in. I gotta do some vacuuming, clean it up. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Well, the trip went off without a hitch. No issues there. And the Impala, we made it back home. Nice loud stereo system. Got some boom booms going on. JL Audio 10. Rolling like I'm supposed to be. So that's gonna do it for this one. We got a storm moving in. So Pal's gonna sit outside and get a little moist. Can't say moist. But thanks everyone for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, comment below. We'll see you next time.